So we've been on this philosophy quest, and we started off by basically saying that there's very little that we can be absolutely certain of. Basically, only that something exists. Therefore, pretty much everything we think and believe about the world involves faith on some level or not. Not necessarily religious faith, but just a trust that what we see is what we get. We then began a path down, well, what are the things that are useful for us to believe in? For example, math seems to work every time. Logic, syllogistic logic in particular, seems to work every time. The coherence of something, the coherence of an idea, that seems to be a useful concept. And so there are three basic tests for truth we talk about. One is the pragmatic test. Does this understanding work? And we've basically suggested that that is ultimately what lies everything that we do. Except for the belief that something exists, almost everything that we consider to be true is based upon what seems to work for us. Some things, of course, don't work for us, and we say they work for us, but that's for another day. So there's the pragmatic test for truth. Logic is the coherence test for truth. Does a concept actually cohere together? Now, there are some concepts, especially in nuclear physics, that work very well, even though they're not coherent. And so there's that. But math is coherent, and logic is coherent. Now we want to begin a path down the third test for truth, which is the one that we use the most, the correspondence test for truth. Does our concept actually match the facts? Does it actually match reality? The problem, of course, is that interpretation is almost always involved in the way that we assess whether there's a correspondence. Nietzsche famously said there are no facts, only interpretation. Now, I'm not sure that's a particularly useful concept, but there's an element of truth to what he's saying. And so I want to start our journey of correspondence with this claim, namely that we can help assess whether an idea works or not by whether or not there is a simple correspondence. So, for example, is there a world outside of me? That correspondence with, I think there's a world outside of me. It works for me to say there's a world outside of me. That correspondence works really well. As I say, get out of the way of oncoming traffic. It works really well to believe that there actually is a car coming toward me. Now, there might not be. I might be hallucinating. I might have taken some LSD or crack or something. I've never done that. But it's possible that I'm hallucinating. And so it's not absolutely certain, but in general, if I'm in a normal state of mind, the correspondence, simple correspondence, I'm seeing something outside of myself. There is a chair here. There is a car here. Those things are very useful. And so we want to start this correspondence test path by saying that if there is is there an elephant in the room, a literal elephant? That's fairly easy to ask whether it corresponds to reality or not. I'm not seeing an elephant. I don't see any in here. I'm going to say there's no elephant in this room. That seems to be a usefully truthful concept because it corresponds to what I am seeing as I look around the room. All right, we continue.